Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open one of the most powerful ideas in child development, attachment theory. We're going to get out of the textbook and turn this into a really practical guide, showing you how that incredible bond you have with your child literally shapes their world, and, most importantly, what you can do to make it as strong as it can be.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute foundation, the idea of a secure base. Then we'll get into a story about a family to see 4 very different paths a child's attachment can take. We'll even look at the biology of stress and the lifelong echo of these early years. Finally, we'll talk about how to recognize the signs and what all this really means for your child's inner life.
All right, let's jump right in at the beginning. What in the world is attachment theory, really? And why is this bond formed so early on so absolutely critical for everything that comes next?
So at its core, attachment theory, which was pioneered by people like the psychologist John Bowlby, says that kids are just biologically hardwired to stick close to their caregivers for safety and comfort. You can think of it like a survival instinct. This bond, it's not just about warm, fuzzy feelings. It's a non-negotiable part of their development that shapes their confidence, their ability to learn, and all their future relationships.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. A strong, secure bond works just like a home base in a game of tag. A child who feels secure deep down knows they can run out, explore the world, take some risks, maybe even stumble a bit, because they always have a safe harbor to come back to. But without that, the world can feel really scary and unpredictable. That early sense of safety, or insecurity, it really sets the stage for everything else.
Now, theories are great, but let's see how this stuff actually plays out in the real world. To make this super clear, we're going to follow a story about one family that really breaks down the 4 main attachment styles that can develop.
So let's meet the Smith family. At first, everything's great. They're warm, loving, and always there for their kids. But then a tragedy hits the family and their whole world changes. We're going to see how this huge shift affects each of their 4 kids in a totally different way, all based on their age and their new situation. This is where the theory really clicks.
First up, we have Luca. He's 6. That solid foundation with his parents was already built before things got tough. So even with all the new stress, that early security acts like a buffer. He trusts that his mom is still his safe haven, and that allows him to stay optimistic and keep a positive view of himself.
Next is little Anne, who's 3. Her mom is now stressed, overworked, and, well, she's inconsistent. For Anne, that safe base now feels pretty wobbly. She quickly learns that to get the comfort and attention she needs, she has to crank up the volume. She gets clingy, loud, and anxious. This uncertainty starts to chip away at her self-image, and that's what we call an anxious ambivalent attachment.
Then there's 2-year-old Joe. His caregiver is now a well-meaning but pretty strict uncle who gets angry when Joe gets emotional. So Joe learns a really tough lesson: showing my feelings leads to trouble. To feel safe, he just shuts him down. It's a survival strategy, you know? But you can imagine how that plays out later in life. It makes it super hard to get emotionally close to people. This is an anxious avoidance style.
And finally, there's Amy, who's just 1. She's in a nursery that's chaotic and sometimes abusive. This creates this impossible conflict for her. The people she needs for safety are the same people who are scaring her. This chaos completely messes up her understanding of what love and connection are supposed to be, leading to a really negative view of herself. This is called anxious, disorganized attachment, and it's often the most challenging.
In this chart, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? You can draw a straight line from what the caregiver is doing to the child's attachment style, and then most importantly, to how that child starts to see themselves, whether they feel like they're worthy of love and care. It's literally the blueprint for their inner world.
But you know, this isn't just about psychology and behavior. There is some powerful biology going on right under the surface, especially when a child's world feels unsafe. Let's geek out for a minute and look at the actual science of what happens inside their developing brain.
So when a little kid goes through high levels of stress over and over again, without that buffer of a supportive adult to help them through it, scientists call it toxic stress. And they use the word toxic for a reason. It literally acts like a poison on the developing brain and body, and it has very real long-term consequences.
And this is basically how it happens, step by step. A stressful event happens, and bam, the adrenal gland pumps out stress hormones like cortisol. This jacks up their heart rate and blood pressure, putting their little body on constant high alert.
Now, when this happens again and again, it can actually damage the architecture of their brain and even weaken their immune system for years to come.
So, why does all this matter so much in the long run? I mean, really? Well, the research on this is just staggering. There's a startlingly clear connection between a child's early attachment and their health and happiness decades down the road.
Just look at this number. Researchers at the University of Minnesota followed kids for years, and they discovered they could predict with 77% accuracy who is going to drop out of high school. And what was that prediction based on? Just their attachment style at age 3. That's it. That's how deeply these early patterns are wired in.
And check out this one. It's from a long-term study at Harvard. They found that 91% of people who said they had a poor relationship with their mother in college were later diagnosed with major health problems. We're talking heart disease and high blood pressure. The quality of our earliest bonds has a measurable echo through our entire lives.
But on the flip side, and this is the really hopeful part, a secure attachment creates this amazing positive spiral. A child who feels safe and loved makes friends more easily, right? And those good experiences with friends reinforce their belief that, hey, the world is a pretty good place and I'm worthy of connection. This just builds and builds into a lifetime of optimism and confidence.
Okay, so how do we actually see these different attachment styles? How do researchers even study this stuff? Well, a classic experiment called the strange situation gives us a really clear window into a child's sense of security.
So here's how it works. A child is in a room playing. Their mom is there. Then she leaves for a minute, and then she comes back. Now, the crucial part isn't whether the kid gets upset when mom leaves. Hey, most kids do. The real key is what happens when she returns. A secure child will seek comfort, get a hug, calm down, and then, and this is important, feel safe enough to go back to playing. An insecure child might stay upset or even ignore the parent completely, which shows they can't really use that parent as a secure base to handle their big feelings.
So let's pull all these threads together. We've seen the theory, the story of the 4 kids, and the science. So what does this all mean for you as a parent? Well, it all comes down to understanding the inner world that you are helping your child build, piece by piece.
This quote from John Bowlby really gets to the heart of everything. What cannot be communicated to the mother cannot be communicated to the self. Think about that. When a child feels like their big emotions, their fears, their excitement, their sadness can be safely shared with you and accepted, they learn to understand and accept those same feelings inside themselves. Our connection with them becomes the blueprint for their connection with their own soul. And it leaves us with a really important question. How can we be that safe base that allows our children to not only explore the big wide world, but also the world within themselves? Because really, that's one of the greatest gifts we can ever give them.